I'm back, they say. There you are. It's just sitting there. Okay, folks. Apparently this is working. It's not showing up in my browser for some reason. They say. Well, let's get into it, shall we? There you are. All right, here we go. Okay. Still working out some technical difficulties here. Be with. Okay, so everything sounds okay when you're hearing it, right? So everything sounds when you're watching it without hearing me, everything is good. Sorry, I'm just making sure everything works. Keep you out of pants, son. I'm not getting feedback fast enough to really do anything, so I'm just gonna go with it. If it's bad, it's bad. If it's not, it's fine. I haven't streamed on YouTube in a while. Been using Twitch. All right, so anyway, we're gonna install this. Okay. So you see that? Can you hear my voice though? That's the question I'm trying to ask. Do you hear me talking? That's. So you hear the clickety clack of my keyboard. I'm checking to make sure everything's kosher. All right, so here we go. So we're gonna install Linux Mint Live through VirtualBox. So hold on to your shorts, grab a beverage. This isn't gonna take too long because it's Linux Mint. Here we go. So normally you'd use a live stick for this, right? A USB key stick, whatever you want to call it, with Linux Mint on it. I'm not going to go through that process. I'll show you that maybe later. But this is the actual install. It's how easy it is. I'm willing to do this live. All right, now this is VirtualBox, so it is a little different. But we're going to do it because it gave you basic understanding of just how easy this is. And yes, Linux is ready for the desktop. It has been for years. We just have set the bar so high that we're just stuck with this fear that we just can't do it. It's not ready. It is ready. It's been ready for years. I've been using Linux since 1999. I think I got Red Hat discs. So let's just get on with it. Let's boogie. I'm gonna keep an eye on my messages here so I make sure everything's looking good. And let's go. Start Linux Mint install. So this is VirtualBox. And you notice on the side, we have this right here where it says mount this integration. That's just for VirtualBox. So I can use the mouse. And then all VirtualBox is, it acts like another computer on your computer. So this is what you're going to see when you put the stick in your PC and you boot it up to install Linux Mint. Okay. So this is what you're going to see. Now, because it's VirtualBox, can PC inside a PC, it's already connected to the internet, right? Hopefully, you're connected to the internet. And if you're doing this on a wireless device, you would see this come up wirelessly over here. I can't show you that because everything in my house is wired. But anyway, you'll understand this. This is just the basics. So what we're going to do is we're going to just... Now, the great thing about a live distro like this is you can actually play around and test the distro to make sure it's going to work for you before you actually install it. So if you want to make sure it connects to the internet and everything looks fine, then do this. So I'm connected. So let's go to Ecosia, my search engine of choice, right? So you see it there. Looks great. I'm connected to the internet. Firefox runs fine. Jim Dandy. You can even say, well, I'm not sure if I want it because the background's ugly. Well, look at that fella. Huh? What about this lady? See? Great desktop background. So we're just going with that one, right? It's pretty. It's a happy little sunset. A beautiful little sunset. All right. So you can check out Office that comes with it. You can look at the configuration, but we're going to do the install and then do the setup because Linux is ready for the desktop. So here we go. I got my little wheel of truth. It's fired up and ready to go. Now, this is in VirtualBox, so it's going to run a little slower than it would on if you actually put it on your hardware, on your machine. So we're going to click continue. That's your language. This is your keyboard layout. Nothing to be afraid of here. The default's usually the one you want to go with. But if you do something different, it's over here. English US Cherokee. They don't have Lakota. Well, that's sad. They don't have Lakota? Dakota? Neowashte. Okay. So we're going to use US English. And we're going to click continue. Now this is important. You always want to check this one because this is how you're going to be able to do stuff with media. So just click it. I'm not going to go into detail. There's 1,000 videos out there what this stuff all does. I don't want to go into it. Okay, so let's just do it. Preparing Ubuntu drivers. Now we're using Linux Mint. Don't let that. Don't even concern yourself with it. Doesn't make a difference. Now, if you were installing this on your PC and you wanted to keep your Windows and install Linux on along next to it, you would do something different here. But I'm not going through that. Just keep this simple. I'm going to assume that you want to wipe the whole disk and install Linux Mint because you're a brave soul and you're like, I'm tired of Windows. Windows is garbage. I need to move on. So we're going to choose erase disk and install Linux Mint. Okay? We're not going to get anything in advance here. This is for the desktop user, the average person. So we're going to click install now. And it's going to prompt you. Write the changes to the disk. Now this is just saying, hey, are you sure? Okay, so if you want to, click continue. I don't want to. I'm going to choose Chicago because that's where I'm at. And I'm going to give the name Toe. And I'm just going to put it in some real easy password here. Now, if you're doing this for business, and I use Linux Mint for my business, which requires a lot of security, you're going to want to encrypt your home folder. Okay? It's a touch slower, but it is safer. Now, we'll get into like disk security and stuff like that at a much, much later time. But if you're doing business, you want to encrypt your home folder. We're not going to do that today. We're just desktop users. We found Linux. We want to do something different because we're tired of Windows, the spyware, the telemetry, the ads. It's shady, right? And you're like, I need to do something different. I need something easy. So that's why we're going to use Linux Mint. And this is install process, so it's going to take a minute. So we're going to sit here and talk and look through pictures, right? Netflix streaming. What else are there? Spotify. There's all kinds of things you could do this. And Linux comes with Hypnotics, which is kind of a streaming TV thing. Allows you to watch TV stations from all over the world. It's called, I believe it's called Hypnotics. So that's a wonderful feature. You know, you can browse the web, do whatever you want. Oh, Spotify. There you go. Spotify Rhythm Box. If you have your own media, like you have your own digital, music library. You can use Rhythmbox. There's a bunch of these out there. You can just use Spotify if you like. That's what I do. I use Spotify. We have the family account for Spotify, so we just do that. And then movies and videos, VLC, MPV, and celluloid. I watch an old TV show called Emergency on DVDs. I hook up an external DVD drive, pop it in. I use VLC for that. Celluloid, I don't like it for that. Plays other media just fine, but I like VLC for DVD. Right. And then there's manage your photos. This is the wonderful thing about Linux when you install it. Right, we're still copying files as you can see down here. Okay. It is going to be slow on this machine because it's a virtual box. So, excuse me. So you see some actual programs here. I don't use Pix or drawing, but I use GIMP and Inkscape. And the artist that creates stuff for my business, Dema, uses GIMP and Inkscape and learning Krita, depending on how you say it. So if you want to manipulate your photos, use Pix or GIMP. You want to create artwork, you can use Krita or Inkscape. There's so many tools available to you that are what is considered open source and free, which means you create the work, you keep the work for free. GIMP isn't going to say you got to pay us now. And there's no subscription services, none of that nonsense stuff that society seems to be wanting to do. So it's very awesome. I don't do any of this. I use a program called Signal, which is fairly secure, and like Google Meet and stuff like that. I have my own service for my business that I use for video conferencing and such. So you have that. A big one. Office suites. Okay. LibreOffice, that's what they're showing here. LibreOffice for me is head and shoulders above Microsoft Office. I don't use spreadsheets to the extent that some people do now. Like my son who's in college, he uses extensive spreadsheets. So he will use Excel because that's what his school uses. But LibreOffice has the text editor. It has the spreadsheet, Impress, which is the same thing as I can't remember what the Microsoft version is now, Draw, and Base. It's a full featured Office suite. It's free to use, free to share, free to install. Get back. And a little bit of history for people that think, well, it's open source. I haven't heard of it. Can I use it in the real world? I have used LibreOffice through all of my academic career. For my associates, my bachelor's, and my master's, I've used this tool for everything, and I still use it today. I use this in Google Drive, depending on which situation I'm in. But anything I do on a PC usually is done through LibreOffice. I've even created presentations in it for talks and stuff that I've given. Yippity-dee! Install software. One of the things that is incredibly different if you are a new user, and we're going to show you this later, is the package manager, the software manager, where you install software. When we think about Linux isn't ready for the desktop, which I take complete umbrage with that because it's such an outmoded idea, and Linux people pitch it the most. Linux people are the problem, in my opinion, with ready for the desktop. Linux is ready for the desktop. It is. It's been for so many years. Installing software on Linux is usually a breeze. Now, some people say, well, there's some other problems. I have been running Linux since 2009. In the early days, in the early 2000s, there definitely were some issues with dependencies and stuff like that. Now, in Linux Mint, I don't have problems. I can't remember the last time I had a problem with Linux Mint installing software. I can't. And I've been running it since 2010. I think 2011, something like that. So it's been a long time. I haven't had any real problems. Right now, I'm just going to figure in the hardware. Just give you an idea. So we're going to get into that too. VirtualBox and Wine. These are... Some people have to have Windows software. And I do gaming. As you can see in Tosa, I play DayZ. I've even played Rust in Linux. Rust runs fine in Linux, but that's a face punch issue we'll get into later. You watch another video for that. So anyway, I use Steam and Proton to run Windows games, notably DayZ and some other ones. The thing is that to run Rust and play on all the other servers, I have to use Windows, so it's a real pain in the tuchus. So I've really gotten away from playing Rust. I got 4,700 hours and 4,700 plus hours in Rust, and I fell in love with DayZ. And DayZ runs in Linux using Proton, right? So it's such a much better feeling to play a game like that because Bohemia actually has Linux servers. That's the company that developed DayZ. Rust has Linux servers. They just won't let you play it on the desktop. Ridiculous. Different story, different time, different video. So it's kind of wrapping up now. We're getting ready to close this out, and then we're going to do a reboot. Then we're going to get into the desktop, and then I'm going to show you the configuration and the important things. Okay? So we're almost there. Oh, this is the actual desktop, by the way. This is what it's going to look like when we come back in. But we're gonna mess with some stuff. Alrighty. Alrighty. We're gonna do it, mate. So got a message here. Let's take a look. So almost there. Updates. Microsoft's updates tend to just wreck things, especially if you're a gamer. You're always fiddling with stuff, turning off antivirus, trying to get this to work. Is this program slowing down my games? Is this slowing down my PC? As a general rule, when I use Windows, keep in mind, I was a Windows technician for 8 to 10 years, and it was mostly Windows, some Linux, and a little Mac. And there, you would encounter so many problems in Windows. Sometimes the best thing you could do is just reinstall the thing, right? Because it gets slow. And you can go through and clean it up and do all those things. But Microsoft Windows it self-propagates. It creates files it doesn't need and bloats the system. Linux doesn't do that. Linux Mint doesn't do that. So we're almost done here. It's giving me the installation logs, which we don't care about. We're going to restart. Here we go. Click that restart button. Let's go. Let's go. We don't need to remove anything. We're using VirtualBox 7.0 from Oracle. Yippity hee, yippity doo. This is what you can see on your first boot. Don't panic. Everything's fine. Everything's looking good. So that's my username. You're going to do your login. So all you got to do is put in your password. All right. So our connection is established. And this is the first thing you're going to see when you boot in. Now this next step, I'm going to do because I want to make the screen larger and make sure that we've got the resources and stuff we need because it's running in VirtualBox. So you won't do any part of this, okay? Just ignore this section. But for those that are interested, when you install a program on a host system, like I'm running Linux, you can see my taskbar. I'm running Linux inside of Linux. I need to do this to get more functionality out of the VirtualBox session. So it's installing different things to help me do that. And it's rebuilding the boot image. Boop, 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 doop. This is called guest editions. So once that's done, we'll restart and then we'll be good to go. And we'll make it bigger. Press return to close the window. Okay. Well, let's see if it works. Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to have to relog it. It is not working properly. I didn't think it was going to. I was hoping. There, we got it. Didn't have to reboot. Hey, how you doing? So we didn't have to restart. Ignore that. That's the guest edition. Again, just put that out of your mind. All right. So what you see for you is the first screen you're going to see when you hit Linux Mint. This is 21.3 Cinnamon 64-bit. You can see that right there. So the first steps, desktop colors. Yeah, we always like our desktop to be customized. So I'm going to click that. There it comes. Remember, things are going to be a little slow on here because it's a guest system. I need to allocate some more resources to it. So this is the basic. We're not going to go to advanced. Basic, you can do mixed, dark, or light. I like mixed. Then you choose your colors. Right? You can see right here where it's going to change. It's going to change your file folder down here too. So you can choose between these. It's kind of a blue with a tan. I'm going to stick with this one. I kind of like this one right here. It's kind of pretty. And that's all we're going to do. Not going to change anything. Simple. You can change a lot, different themes, add, remove themes, and so on and so forth. Let's do that later. We just want the basics. Just the basics. All right. So a system snapshot. Now, we're not going to do this because it's a brand new system. I don't necessarily do that, but we'll get into that later. I'm not going to do it now. The only thing out of this so far that we're going to look at is the update manager. So you can change your desktop colors. Don't need to worry about the driver manager unless you have NVIDIA stuff. Okay? So we're not even going to mess with that. Update manager. So we're going to launch this. This is like keeps your system up to date. New software, things come out, drivers and all that stuff. This is where it happens. So you're going to go down here. It does your security updates, software updates, and system snapshots. We're going to click OK. We have updates. Now, don't be taken aback by this. When the system was created, they've continued to do work and create it and update it. It's a good thing. So we're going to click install. And you're going to click, anytime you see anything here, you're going to click OK. And then we're going to put in our password. Okay? And now, if you're familiar with Microsoft updates, they try to force them and shove them down your throat. Linux Mint isn't going to do that. When you're ready, install them. It's going to remind you, hey, some serious stuff, or we probably need to do an update. Okay? But it ain't going to be a big thing. And you can set it to auto update. So it's installing all that software. You can see it. None of this stuff, I mean, it's not going to mean a lot to you. Your basic user, that's it. Basic user. Okay? So we're going to let that run. This is the important part because you want to start with a system that is ready to go. So 21.3 has been out for a little bit. Some things have been updated. We need to make sure we have our updates. It's going to take a minute. This is live, not Memorex. Most people won't even know what that means. Again, Linux is ready for the desktop. I use it. I use it all through my collegiate career. I used it before that. I've used it in every business that I've worked. Most of them. You know, some of them I couldn't. But I use it for my business. I use it for home. I use it for gaming. I use it for website creation. My wife uses it. She games on it. She does have Windows for when we play Rust. She plays Harry Potter and Stardew in Linux. And then my son uses it in college, and he's used it since, gosh, he was 11, 12 years old. So if 11, 12-year-old can use Linux, pretty sure it's ready for the desktop. My wife can use it. and it's ready for the desktop. And I was even going into schools and showing this in computer labs to get people to understand and watch this stuff to use Linux. Sims, Stardew Valley and Sims. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So it's ready for the desktop. It is. We're doing updates. It's going to take a minute because there's doing some significant big file updates, and we're running on the VirtualBox. We'll go ahead and do a setup and see what we got. And we can poke around while that's doing it. That's a great thing. So let's go ahead and look at the start menu. Okay. This is the equivalency of the start menu in Windows. It's very basic. You have your sections here and your program, the subsections, right? So graphics, drawing and pics, and a document scanner. I use the document scanner all the time. Internet. Internet. Firefox, HexChat, I never use. Thunderbird Mail, I use. It's a mail program for the desktop. Like Outlook would be the equivalent, right? Transmission, that's BitTorrent and WebAts. We're going to talk about that. Let me make a note because I think that's going to be important to talk about because the way security is these days with like Facebook and Instagram and everything else wants your data. Sounds like a bad Star Trek episode. Then Office, Calendar, Library, LibreOffice. That's what we were talking about, which we'll see later. Sound and video, there's Hypnotics. I hope I was saying that right. Administration. This is where we take care of different things. Preferences, places, and recent files. It's really simple. Very simple. There's no reason to be afraid of it. I dare say, and I always get a lot of pushback from the Linux elite from this, Windows is not ready for the desktop. Now, if you're comfortable with Windows and you have no interest in changing, that's absolutely fine. I don't care. But we can't say that Linux isn't ready for the desktop. It's just not true. Windows isn't ready for the desktop if we look at it objectively. The amount of issues that Windows has and has had, it's problematic. You just don't know what's going to work, what's going to be slowed down, the number of software you have to install to protect the system. I mean, it's great if you want to use Windows. I don't care. But we as Linux people got to stop saying that Linux isn't ready for the desktop. Because it is. I'm showing you that right now. Okay, so we need to reboot on that. So we're going to go ahead and do that because that's going to give us a new kernel, which is just the central kind of core of that. So when you're done and it says you need to reboot, you just go here. And this is shut down the computer. Right there, the little red button. And then you're going to restart. You get the little chime. And it's going to reboot. And you're going to see the little Linux Mint icon, little animated icon. You see that wheel in there? Just spinning around. And then we're going to log in again. We're back. Now, so we did the update manager, system settings, software manager, and firewall. I'm not going to show you in here because we're not going to use this. When you get comfortable, you're not going to use this, but you can leave this on. So I'm just going to leave it on so it pops up every time. Now, we want to make our system look like us. So we're going to go here, right click, that's what the action is, change desktop background. Now, this has various folders for background photos. There are a lot in here, taken all over the world. Let's use this one. Let's make this look pretty. Okay, so let's start. We want to keep configuring the system. We want things to look and operate the way we do in Windows. So I'm going to go to menu, and if you see this here and hover over this, it says right here at the lower corner, it'll say System Settings and Control Center. So this is the control panel, Control Center. Okay. Now, I'm going to set this up like I would, just to give you an idea what you can do. Okay? One of the things that I like to do is I like single click. And I do this thing called window shade in Linux that I don't know if you can do it in Windows yet at all. So I'm going to go to Windows right here. Now, you have title, behavior, and alt tab. I just want the title bar. And I'm going to go here to toggle maximize, and I'm going to change that to toggle shade. Now, what that allows me to do is go bada bing. I can shade that up. I can roll that up, get that out of my way. Right? It's the only change I'm making there. Okay? So then now I want a single click. Now, to do this, we go to a little different place. I'll leave my system settings open. When I go down here to the left, this is your file folder. This is where all your files are located. Think of this as kind of your C drive. It's not, but think of it as that way. I'm going to go to Edit, Preferences. I'm going to go to Behavior, and I want a single click. I don't want a double click. Boom. One click. Boom. One click. Okay. So now we were playing with the colors earlier, so let's go in and look at just what we can do with the colors. So let's go to Themes. Now remember, we're on Basic, so watch the folders over here. Let's change to this one. It gave us kind of the yellow, traditional manila folder look with the blue highlight. This, everything's blue. So on and so forth. Right? And go over here. Changes the colors and the highlights. Go purple. But we're going to stick with this one. Now, what does dark do? Just what it says. Turns everything dark. Light mode, boom. I like mixed. Sometimes dark, sometimes mixed. It's easy enough to change. Okay, very simple. Let's go to advanced settings now. Now, if you really want to make bigger changes, you can go in here, change your mouse cursor. You can change the applications toolbar, anything you want in here. Icons, these are the old sets. There's a bunch of these in there. And then the desktop in general. A lot of changes you can make in here and play around with. But we're going to keep it simple. Well, all right, add remove themes. Themes are important for some folks. Let's do it. So you go into add remove themes up here, and then you can scroll through here and pick different themes. And they're all free. You don't have to pay for them. You can sort them by different criteria. Right? And then you have your settings. You can play around with this stuff. But I want to keep it simple. I want to keep it there. That's all I do. Okay. So that's that part of it. Now, printers. Let's see if it actually sees mine through here. I don't think it will. No, it didn't. I'm not going to do this. When you install Linux Mint, it's going to auto-find your printer if it can. If not, this is where you're going to come in and configure it. But we're not going to do that because that's not what we're doing today. We're showing the basics here, right? Okay, so let's close this. We changed our theme. We got what we want. We changed how our mouse works. And me, I like my toolbar to auto hide, right? So I go to panel visibility, and I'm going to change this to auto hide. Now you've got intelligently or always show. I like auto hide. That's all I'm going to change. Okay. So when I want it, I may have to turn that back on because it's actually getting my it's getting my one from my main system, so I'm going to turn that off to always show. Otherwise, I'm going to lose it. I'm going to be fighting it all day, so I'm going to leave it on. But I usually have mine on. So let's go to the menu for real time here. So you have kind of the quick shortcuts here. The browser, Firefox. It's my default browser. It's what I like. Comes pre-installed. Okay, so you have that. Look how snappy it is, even on a VirtualBox. Now let's do the software manager. This is going to take a second to generate the cache, but this is where we're going to install software. Okay. Excuse me. Excuse me. So let's let it do its thing. And you can just mess around, you know, look around a little bit, decide which go away, mate. Got all face, got internet, just like I showed you before. Got our blitz and bobs. Okay, so this is our software manager. Now, the GIMP is the GNU emulation program, right? This is like Photoshop. It's equivalency of Photoshop, but it's not installed. So we go to graphics. We have these. So let's say we want to install it. Well, we just click that and click install. It's going to tell you what it's going to install, and we're going to click OK. And then we're just going to put in our password. And this is going to install the program GIMP. GIMP's been around for a number of years, a lot of years. People use it professionally to edit videos and do all kinds of things. Like I said, Demo, my artist, does this, uses this to create books, stuff that need graphics and stuff for. So that and Inkscape. Okay. So we can launch here, but we'll find this in graphics right there. Let's open it. First time open. Getting everything I need. And there's GIMP. It's that simple. That's it. So let's go back. So there's Discord, Spotify, Skype, all kinds of stuff in here, and you can organize it. And there's categories like games. There's all kinds of little games for. Man, there's a ton of games in here. Whew. But if you want something specific, Steam. Now you're gonna see this where it says Flat Hub and System. See the little Flat Hub? These are usually newer packages. I usually try to install the Flat Hub. So if I do that, I click install. That's what it's going to install. Nothing hidden. It's going to tell you everything it's going to install. And what that's installing, go back over here, and you can look at different things, sound and video. You notice I'm not paying for any of this, right? Did you see that? Okay. So that is awesome. These are all programs for sound and video that you can install. Let's see what else. Spotify. What else is in graphics? Color Chooser. Blender, 3D, free 3D. Movie studios and game studios use that. Darktable if you want to manipulate photos and different things. Handbrake if you need to rip DVDs. Shutter, my favorite screenshot grabber. I mean, there's just stuff I could go through. You could spend days doing this stuff, but I'm not going to. Let's see if that's installed. It is not yet. It's taking a minute, and that's fun. So we'll go back, and we'll just. Can I click this to see it? Will it show me? Yep. And it's done. So that's how you install packages. It's that easy. So let's go over here. It created a new section, games. I click on Steam. Steam input device UDEV rules don't seem to be installed. If you experience with the gamepads, consider installing Steam devices. Okay, great. So we may need Steam devices. So let's go back here. Let's go to our software manager. What that simply means is if you're going to play a game with a game controller. So we want Steam devices. There it is. Put in our password. I'm going to go ahead and click OK over here. Need some really soft background music. La-dee-dee, la-dee-da. But as this goes, anytime I hear the big noggin folk, the talking heads, say that Linux is difficult. Linux isn't ready for the desktop. There's too many versions of Linux out there, the distros and all this stuff. I just shake my head. I shake my head. I have installed Linux for so many people that you wouldn't think would be able to run computers like this, and they do just fine. It is ready. It's more than ready. Again, there's Steam. I can just log in. And you know I run Steam because you see my other videos. I'm playing DayZ. So those are the basics. That is up and running. That's got you going, right? The other one I said I was going to do was going to be, let's look at pics. So you can put your pictures in there. I don't have anything on this system, so we're not going to look at that. Let's go to Office. Boing. Okay, so there's LibreOffice. Let's get a writer document. And there you go. That's LibreOffice, folks. That's there you go. That's the editor, text editor. Don't save. Spreadsheet, no problem. Presentation, no problem. And I've never liked any presentation software ever, not even from LibreOffice. It does fine. It does fine. But when you can, it's just, I'm not a presentation person. I hate them. Drawing, you need to draw. I'm going through these really fast. Math formulas. Great math formulas. Okay. There you go. We just installed Linux Mint. I know some people are going to say, well, you didn't install it on a real system. There's always problems. Listen, if you've ever installed Windows, I started working on computers when Windows 3.1 was still a thing. That was a nightmare. Windows 95, okay, big jump from Windows 3.1. Windows 98, Windows ME, total mess. Total wreck, ME was. Windows 2000, I really enjoyed Windows 2000 and XP. Those were the last two versions I ever enjoyed. But it was around that time-ish that I got into Linux, and I started with Linux Mandrake. I started with Red Hat, then Linux Mandrake. Linux Mandrake allowed Linux to work on the desktop, way before Ubuntu came along. So that's it. There's your Linux system. What more do you need? Oh, backup. I said I was going to do backup. So, whoop, get back up here. Where are you going? I opened a GIMP again. Look at that. Look how fast that opens. So time shift. Put in the password. Security, right? Notice I didn't install any antivirus stuff. Don't need it. I hope this doesn't take long because I'm gonna stop it if it does. But you can back up your entire system with time shift. All right, there's another backup tool, but I prefer time shift. You can back up your whole system this way. If anything goes hinky, you just run this and put your backup back in there. It's kind of like, it's, similar to a version of Windows. It's just better. So there you go. There's your backup tool. And then if you want to go next, you can set the frequency, and you can choose. Like me, I would do all files. Right? So there you go. And that's kind of what it looks like on the thing. And you can run the wizard again. That's more of an in-depth thing. I just wanted to show you could do this. We just did this live. No big deal. Okay, folks. If you want to see Steam for real, no, this is not VirtualBox. There, look at my pony. Look at my pony. Where did my Steam go? There it is. Where'd you go, you little bugger? There it is. This is my Steam. I'm Seth. Hi. This is my library. DayZ, Rust, Scum. Great games, right? Family games. Oh, Star Trek in there. Red Dead Redemption runs well. Very cool stuff. Anyway, that's it, folks. That's the end of the stream. I appreciate you stopping by or watching the video. If you did, if you did not, I don't care. Linux is ready for the desktop. It has been. All the Linux gurus say it's not. It's a mess. It's not. Linux Mint ready for the desktop. The other ones, I don't care about. I use Linux Mint. That's all I care about. Linux Mint is ready for the desktop. Put it on your desktop. Try it out. Download it. Try it live. Install it. You'll love it. If not, go back to Windows. All right, folks. Bye bye.